We have a huge Game 5 in the Eastern Conference Finals. LeBron and the Cavs dominated Game 3 and Game 4, but now the series heads back to Boston, where the Boston Celtics have not lost a game. Ryan Hollins, if Brad Stevens calls your phone and says, Ryan, what adjustments do I need to make to win Game 5, how would you answer that phone call?
I'm going to say, Brad, who are you running offense through? Who are you relying on? Who is going to be your go-to guy, Brad? Because I know you got a lot of good young players. I know you got some energy. You got a good cast. But in the playoffs, I need to know, Brad, who's your guy? Is it Smart? Is it Horford? Is it Rozier? Who are we running offense through? And you can't just do it by committee. Not against one of these LeBron teams. And now all the other players trickle down into their natural positions. They play their roles. And you've got to do that. Even though you don't want to, Brad, you got to do that because your guy is in street clothes. Your two guys.
Yes.
It will be Hayward and it will be Kyrie. And if not, you've done a fine job just by getting there. But who's it going to be,
I'm glad
Brad?
you brought that up because it seems like it's Al Horford. It feels like with his passing ability, his post-up, his jump shot, that he's kind of their guy with his experience. But here's the thing with Horford I've noticed in this series. Horford guarded by Kevin Love, that's a bucket. Horford guarded by Tristan Thompson, that is not a bucket. For some reason, Tristan Thompson seems to have his number. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's a great matchup, and Tristan Thompson he's a similar Ryan Hollins. He's a 15 type of guy. That means he can guard 1 through 5, and he matches up with Al Horford. He's comfortable on the perimeter, and he doesn't mind holding his ground on the block. And Al Horford is just not going to have a field day, and even better, they can play him one-on-one. They play him straight up, so that takes away the looks for the three-point shooters. Tristan Thompson has had his stamp all over this series when his team got down 0-2.
He really has, and if looking at his regular season and his early playoff performances, if you would have told me that Tristan Thompson would have been the key to them coming back from a 2-0 deficit against the Celtics, I would be like, what? But here we are. One thing I also want to talk about is the other side of the ball, what the Celtics are doing on defense. LeBron James is always going to be able to get the rim, but it's certainly in Game 3 and Game 4, it felt like he was getting to the rim easily, finishing a lot of baskets like this. You know, finishing a lot of baskets with what I call his knuckles to the rim. What do they do to stop LeBron James from getting to the basket so easily?
Well, what's tough is that on the road, they wanted to get physical with him. They wanted to get into him. They wanted to climb up under him. And what they found out very shortly is that the referees were not going to let that young team climb up under LeBron and grab him and hold him and do all those little things. And that's part of when we talk about toughness. Toughness isn't just going and beating a guy up. Toughness is going into a road game, knowing the tempo, knowing what the referees, how they're going to call the whistle, what's the pace of the game, and fitting in within whatever the pace is and being great in any scenario. And that's what those young guys have to learn. They got to learn time, place, and possession. Remember that. Say it 3 times fast, Jacoby.
Time, place, and possession, time, place, and possession, time, place, and possession. I'm a professional. I do think that was a really good point because Jaylen Brown in Game 3 comes to mind. He picked up 3 fouls early and didn't really seem to adjust the way the game was being called. I think that's an astute observation. So, Game 5, pivotal.
I like that word.
The Celtics have not lost a game at home. Is tonight the night in which the Celtics lose their first home game in the playoffs?
Reg, can you play some sound? Tonight is the night.
Oh, not only does Jalen sing, now we got Ryan Hollins singing on Jalen and Jacoby.